How's everybody doing, and welcome to the fish room. Today is going to be a tour on the fish tanks that I have, showing all the changes that actually happened. It's been a while since my last fish room update. We're going to go through, look at the tanks. I'm going to talk about some future plans. Also, big thank you to everyone, all my subscribers. Just hit 4,000 subs, so thank you all for that. Really appreciative. But let's go ahead, let's look at some of the tanks. I'm going to show you the room and kind of some future plans, and I really want your guys' advice on what I should do. So get ready to go below, comment, let me know what you guys are thinking, because I'm going to base a lot of my decisions off of you guys, my subscribers, because I really appreciate all the subscribers and all the views. So you guys are a lot of the reason why I still do the videos, so definitely get ready to watch the video and comment below, let me know what you guys think. Alright, so here's the first tank we're going to look at today. I'll get a little bit closer and show you some of the fish. But here we have a 55-gallon tank. This is one of 7 tanks I have running. I gotta tell you guys, I am loving having less fish tanks. I have a lot larger tanks running. Almost all my tanks are 55 gallons now. Instead of having tons of 10s and 20s, just a lot of work and not a lot of water to work with. So really enjoying that. I have 7 tanks. I had 43 tanks running not too long ago, and doing water changes is so much more enjoyable. I can really spend more time on each tank and kind of maximize the production in each tank, and just spend less time cleaning and more time enjoying the fish. So here I have some yellow half blacks breeding. I have a little LED puck light sitting on top there, right over kind of a spotlight on this moss I have growing. I moved this from another tank I had. It was already growing, and it's starting to grow a lot better with the LED light. It definitely could have a better light on this, but I just try to do everything as most cost effective as possible, especially in the fish room where my target is breeding for profit. I'm always tempted to deck out the tanks, do hang-on filters with sponge covers, do heaters in every tank so my room can be a little bit cooler, more enjoyable to be in, and get rid of some of the sponge filters. But the sponge filters work the best, keep the room heated. But with having guppies and plecos now, I've got rid of my germ blue rams. A lot of people love the germ blue rams. I first got into those guys because I really just enjoyed the fish. They're a good seller, and there's not a lot of information out there on them. So that's kind of what started my journey on YouTube. Was I wanted to do videos on how to breed germ blue rams before I even knew how to do it. So I think I have a lot of good videos on breeding germ blue rams, the process of babies from day 1 to adults to breeding, laying eggs, tumbling the eggs, hatching them, all that good stuff. So I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of those videos, especially my subscribers, but go ahead, look through my older videos. I got like 150 videos, so kind of scroll through, you can look at some of the titles and see what you want to watch. But this yellow half black tank is doing really well. I have a little bit of leopard or spotty in a few of these tails. They'll have to make some calls and move them to a kind of an assorted tank or a mutt tank, just to keep the line pure. But right now I'm doing a lot more colony breeding, and you can see some frying there. Definitely have babies still breeding in this tank. Fish are doing really well. But I'm more so focused on having large, healthy fish with nice color. So sometimes the colors get a little bit mixed up. I keep my strains pretty pure, but if I have a tank where it's 100% breeding true, I definitely will tell people. Most of my strains are, so I don't want to say that in a negative way and hurt myself and people think that I'm not doing it or putting the effort in, because I am, but also depends what you're looking for, because sometimes I have the oddball fish in here and it's actually my favorite fish in the tank. So some of these females, like this one here, needs to come out, but I think that's still an amazing looking fish. So those are the fish I actually enjoy more, and then kind of makes me want to start new projects. And I think that's half the fun, if not most of the fun, with breeding guppies. You get a lot of turnover, you get a lot of color, and there's so many varieties. You can really make your own strain. I've done videos on that, kind of making the perfect guppy. I'll probably tag that at the end of this video. But this is yellow half black tank. Doing really well. They still have like the delta tail. Definitely still enjoying these guys, and along with them, you can see that guy in the back. I have some common plecos with a super red back there. Probably pull my flashlight out, but in here I have some grow outs. There's some long fin albinos, long fin commons, This is more so a grow out pleco tank. I have a couple adults in here, but they're still relatively young, so I'm not really breeding those guys right now or focusing on it. But I have a lot of, this is acrylic yarn. I have some moss in there, more acrylic yarn, some floating plants. I have the sponge filter. There is my breeding cave. I use a flower pot and just drill a hole in the side. I have another one buried behind all this back here. So that's kind of how I breed my plecos. Whenever they're large enough, they'll go ahead and breed in there. We got a nice female guppy down there. Usually when they're down there, they're ready to have their babies. And you can see that the babies like to hang out in the bottom. So giving a lot of depth and hiding places for your tank is really gonna help you have more success with guppies. If you're trying to breed them in a community tank, especially with other species, you really have to have that dense acrylic yarn or plants, things for them to hide. If it looks like there's a lot of plants but you can see through it to the back of the tank, there's not enough coverage and the babies are gonna get eaten most likely. So that's a good tip for breeding guppies. Make sure the coverage, you cannot see through it. It is partially filling the tank height-wise and also definitely depth. So you want to have some floating plants if they give birth at the top, but also on the bottom where most of the females in my situation are going to have their babies. This tank below it has the purple Delta guppies. These guys I'm currently not selling because I am low on them. I sold a lot of babies and adults and kind of just rebuilding this strain. But you can see the males get really nice big tails. I really enjoy these guys. I even have, this is what I've started to call my purple painted. And the flashlight is going to be harder to see, but you can see some of those males there with the color in their tail. I actually think that's a lot more enjoyable than just your dark purple. I'm going to set this up on the stand so that I'm not moving around so much and I can adjust the flashlight. Try to get a few good shots of these guys, even though fish room problems, you're always fighting a glare. So that's something I'm going to talk about later with me possibly moving my tanks and changing the setup. Maybe putting a little bit more money into some of my lighting and things like that, but I'm just moving the light around. Hopefully you get some good shots of these guys. But I'm kind of growing this strain back. Along with the purple guppies, I have a lot of adult bristlenose plecos in this tank. A lot of my commons are what I have left. I have some males right there. Another guy back there, and I know this isn't the best camera shot. I apologize for that. But lots of acrylic yarn, so when these guys start having their babies, I can spot a few fry, but I'm sure in the next month or so I'm gonna get a lot more of the baby guppies. And I have probably like 10 adult plecos in here, even though I can't see them. And I probably sold about 10. So I had a good 20, maybe 2 dozen plecos in here, and I've been selling them. So if you're looking for a breeding pair, I still sell my common bristlenose plecos are currently available. Check the date on this video and when you're watching it to see how relevant this is when you're watching. But I will have some more breeding pairs in the future, but right now I do have some commons for sale. The yellow half black guppies, a lot of those still, so they're for sale. We'll most likely run a special on them. If you want to get like 10 or get a dozen of these guys, I could probably hook you up. So let me know if you guys want any of the adult breeding plecos or the yellow half blacks. Moving over, these tanks are empty right now, but I have plans for them. In here I have some red guppies that I'll go through in a second, and we have some super red bristlenose plecos. I'm selling these guys, but I'm definitely holding a lot of them back because I need to grow up a good future breeding stock, so I'll talk about that. And then down here I have some guppies for sale. These are, I call them my fancy guppies or my assorted guppies, or like mutt guppies, a lot of different names for it, but basically I have really nice leopard tailed guppies. And then in this tank I've actually mixed some of my calls from my yellow half blacks. Anything that's like a solid yellow or came out leopard, I've mixed into this tank. But basically if you want a nice color guppy that's healthy, hardy, and you're going to get a lot of cool variety, and every time they have babies you're going to get some new results, I think that's awesome. I think that's the whole point of having guppies. If you're going to buy a strain and just reproduce what someone else is already selling, they may as well go to the first person to buy it from them. So I think that's still great. I think it's great to keep your lines pure and breed them that way, but I also think it's a lot more fun just to kind of go crazy with and get all the color you can get. So I have these guys for sale on my website also. Coming back to this top 55-gallon tank, we'll talk about it a little bit. This is the tank where I'm doing my aquaponics, where I'm growing mint. I have some really cool videos on this. Basically what's happening is I'm pumping air which forces water up into this container, and then there's an overflow right there, that little black thing, and it's putting water back into the tank. Any plant, they're going to grow roots. The roots are going to suck up water and the fish waste, the nitrates or fertilizer from the water, and help keep your tank nice and clean. Release additional filtration to it. And just looking more at the tank, I have some of my red guppies in here. These guys, I found that the red guppies, and I've been breeding these for years now. It's been 2-3 years where I've been working with this same strain. They used to be the red delta. Now I don't get as much of the squared off red delta tail. So I'm working on these guys, but if you just want a nice hardy red guppy to work with, I'll be selling these guys the next month or so when I have some of these babies grow out. Because I do have a lot of babies in this tank. They're definitely breeding well. Not the most pure strain, to be honest, but I think they're really nice. I think you have a lot better luck with them because a lot of the red strains you're gonna get, I'll put this light down, that's not really helping us out, but you're gonna get a lot of illness, and especially because some of them have the albino in them. So the red guppies, in my experience, aren't as hardy, and these guys are. So I want to work more on their tail and their color, but the males are still really nice, especially from just kind of walking by and looking at a tank. You see the nice red colors. If you want to get picky and look at them, they definitely could have some improvements. But I'm working on this strain, and obviously I only sell the best of the stock that I have. So still working on these guys. They're really nice. I enjoy them. In here I have some Pleco caves. It's gonna be hard to see, but this is where I have a lot of my super red Plecos. So you can see there's like a sub-adult that just went around the corner. This guy on the left, he's probably sellable size, a little over 1 inch. These guys will be close the next few months. They'll be ready to sell. And I have probably 3 different ages in this tank. You can see I have some of my blue-eye Plecos there, and we're kind of fighting with the photo quality right now, but you can get the gist of it. And over here I also have some albinos, some longfin albinos. Let me see if I can find one. There's some more reds. I think that's a longfin back there. I have some red marbles, or you call it like a calico Pleco, under the sponge filter. You can see their tails. Those guys are really cool. And I don't have any breeders, so I haven't really sold any of them yet. Looking to grow those out and breed them. There's like a red marble longfin back there. Really like those Plecos. That's kind of my new projects or goals, where I want to start breeding less types of fish and higher quality. That one's really nice, red marble. Just a standard fin. And you even got some little babies in there too. So I have some adults in here that are still breeding. And I thought I saw an adult back there, but it was one of the longfin commons. But we're gonna keep moving forward. We'll go to the tank below it, and then we'll talk about some future plans. So I already briefly showed these guppies down here, and I have mixed a few different ones in there because I have 2 different tanks of the fancy guppies. So there's a few yellow half black calls in here, and I do have more Plecos. So there's a blue eye, or like a lemon blue eye, or just a blue eye leucistic, some more super reds. We have even some commons back there. And if I can find some adults, there's some really nice adults in this tank. Here we have a longfin common right there, about to go into the cave. There's a larger blue eye, and I know I have some super reds, and I have like 3 or 4 of those big longfin commons, which are really cool, and they actually throw the super red. They carry the albino and the red gene in them, so they're really nice fish to work with. But this tank's really hard to film, which is going to lead to some of my changes in lighting that I want to do. But I have one more tank on this wall to show, and then we're going to go ahead and look at the wall tank, the shrimp tank, and then we're going to kind of just step back, and I want to ask you guys some questions. Here we have a 29-gallon tank. This is another tank of the mutts, or the fancy guppies. A couple calls in there. They have kind of tethered up tails. But some of them, where you look at them, they're just like amazing color on the fish, which you really can't capture unless you're in person. And I actually got a GoPro Hero 7 not too long ago, so hopefully I can get some better footage, maybe some 4K stuff, even underwater footage where we won't get the glare. But these guppies are still really nice. They're still enjoyable to work with. We got some Plecos in here. You can see the babies up top. And let's see if we can find some of the adults. There's a nice long fin common. There's 2 of them side by side. We got some blue eyes. This one over here is another blue eye, and that's a younger long fin, probably sub-adult. Still really enjoying these guys, and I actually forgot that I have some of those blue eyes still with the spot. So working on getting like the possibly new strain of Pleco breeding. I got a couple babies and I have a handful of adults. They're in the 55 pound tank next to us, but some things to keep working on. I am about to move some tanks, but so whenever I do that, I'll go through and do any calls I need to with the guppies, because as I'm filming, I keep seeing a couple swim by that probably shouldn't be in there, but just kind of showing you the fish room in its current state. I'm gonna do some work after the video, but showing you what's going on, just doing an update. We got 2 more tanks. I'll try to make them fast so this video is not too long. But I know I always like watching people's videos where they just go through and show you what fish they have, kind of look in the tanks. It's nice to hear people talk, but I want to just kind of see fish sometimes. So here you go. There's a nice shot of the guppies all coming back and forth in the screen here. Last 2 tanks of the fish room, back here in the wall. So from the other side, you can see through this tank. I have all my fake plants. I did a tank setup on that where it's fake aquascaping, if you want to check it out. I think that tank looks really cool. And one of the lights actually burned out on the right, so I still need to fix that, but it still looks awesome. Kind of get like that spotlight. I just sold some guppies out of here, so it's kind of just babies and a few breeders. But what it is the yellow half blacks, and they kind of are starting to get some orange in them in this tank, so I didn't want to mix them with my other strain. I kept this one over here, and I really actually like it. You can see that yellow half black with the spots in its tail, kind of like a leopard pattern. I know that's not what I was going for, but I've seen these guys for sale where it's an actual strain. So I actually really like more color and more pattern. So I thought these guys are pretty cool, so I left those males in there. But let's go ahead, we'll move over to the last tank, which is this 20-gallon high. I have a little eLive light on it with a suction cup sponge filter. And what I have in here is, I think there's kind of a catch-all tank. I have like 2 germ blue rams that always like to hide. I have some ram's horn snails, I think that they're called, and some mystery snails, and some baby guppies. And the main thing I have in this tank are my orange shrimp. So if I can get this to focus for us, those guys are really cool. Those are some of my orange shrimp I've been breeding. I got like 6 of them from a friend like 2 years ago, and they've taken off, they've died off, they've taken off again. So right now they're doing really well. I don't do any special care for my shrimp, so they've gotten hardier, and I've selected the nicest color ones that keep staying in there and breeding. So I'm happy with these guys. They're doing pretty well. They get large water changes like the rest of my fish, so every once in a while I'll lose some shrimp. And whenever I do it, I may lose like 2 or 3 shrimp, but in my eyes, I'm kind of making the shrimp hardier over time, so they're more practical for people that want them. I mainly sell these guys locally. A few of them still need to get some color, or kind of just I can sell those guys for cheaper, things like that, just a lower grade shrimp. And then the ones with more color we can keep and continue to add more color to the shrimp and make them hardier over time. But that's about it. A couple guppies are coming out, swimming around. That tank's just a bare bottom. I painted the back and the bottom white. But let's go ahead and look at the fish room. Kind of taking a step back, and I can ask some questions on what do you guys think I should do in the future. All right, so here we have the room, taking a step back. I'm at the door right now trying to get a shot of the room. But here's where I had my white custom rack with a lot of 20s, 10s, and 40s. I sold the whole rack, so I might have some videos of them set up at the new house, so stay tuned for that stuff. But it kind of stinks to not have all the tanks, but it's also a breath of fresh air that have a lot less maintenance in here. So what I'm thinking about doing, just kind of talk about the future plans. Have the tanks here to the side, we'll walk over. We have our 29s, 55s, and then I have like my bird cage right there and some shelving. Right now, first let me say, I'm sure you guys know I was supposed to move. There's been some delays in that. The house I was about to close on, just had a really bad feeling about the house, and it wasn't something I was real excited about. After I kind of made my decision, I was ready to move in, I just had a bad feeling. So I'm still looking for homes. I'm actually thinking about waiting a little bit longer, buying some land and building something. Something I really know that I love the house and not just be settling, that I can make it work. So that's kind of just real quick. I'm not moving right away, even though I got a lot of my tanks out of here. I still want to do some things with the fish tanks, make it a lot nicer for the time being. But what we have here in the corner, What I'd like to do, I'm only running them off of these air pumps back there. I have two Tetra 300 pumps running like, I think 8 or 10 sponge filters. So it's maxed out, it's not doing any more, and I could use 1 or 2 more. So I'm debating on rewiring those and getting maybe 1 more pump, or just getting rid of them, putting them in storage and getting another big pump from Gemco that can run like 20 sponge filters, so I can do 2 or 3 sponge filters in every tank and really maximize the amount that I can filter in a tank, and just kind of have 1 pump instead of having 2 or 3 or 4 small pumps. Trying to stay away from that because I've been so used to having 1 big pump run so many tanks. It's definitely nice, but if it's not cost effective, I may kind of hold off. So let me know if you guys think I should just go ahead and do 1 pump, ring it off the walls and drop down to each tank like I had before. A lot more organized, less cords, and it's just a lot easier, I think, once it's set up. But what I'm thinking about doing with these tanks I have, the 10 gallons are empty. I want to take them off this wall, give myself some more space over here. I can turn my cage and just kind of have my bird on this side. And then when you turn around on this wall, this is my thought. So I have a little notch up there. I can put the pump, I can hang it, all of the tubing up high, drop it down so I can see every tank. I'm no longer looking up the tanks. Everything's gonna be like chest high and lower, so a lot easier to access my tanks. But what I'd like to do is take that 20 gallon off the stand, have a nice table there. I can work and ship fish. I can have my bags, everything set up there. I have the sink around the corner. My wall tank will be a lot easier to access. I would like to redo the way this is. I have old lights, just the kind of the Petco kit. This tank is probably like 7 or 8 years old, still running strong, but I would like to do some plastic lids or glass lids and do 1 big light on there. Maybe do gravel in that tank and have like dual sponge filters, maybe a hang-on filter on that tank. And then for this wall, what we could do, everything is measured out. I could fit my 29 gallon tanks right here, and I could still open that door. I could do 2 55s, and these are all double stack. And then here I will be able to do 4 or like 2 sideways, 2 high, 10 gallon tanks. And then right here, I still need to paint this wall and clean up. I can do that 20 gallon stand. I can do some storage underneath, and I can put that 20 gallon tank on top. So this whole wall would look really nice. I would have the 29s, the 55s. I can maybe even switch it up so it's 55s and 29s, so it kind of goes highest to lowest, working its way down. But the 55s, that one, and the 2 right here will be closest to each other. I'll have the 29s, 10s, and then a 20. What I plan on doing in those tanks, I'm actually really excited about. So I'll work my way backwards. The 20 gallon tank I'm actually really excited about. I want to do a saltwater tank. So that'll be one of my only saltwater tanks running currently. Just do like a pair of clownfish, something real simple. Look forward to doing that tank and doing a lot of cool videos on it. I want to do a very low tech saltwater tank. Try to do it as minimal as possible and still keep the fish healthy. So that would be really cool. I could do new videos on that kind of stuff. Dip my toes into saltwater. Right here I would have all my 10 gallon tanks. I want to keep those completely bare, just a sponge filter in each. And what I would do is, it's these tanks here, just run a sponge filter, cover the tanks all the way so I don't really need to access them. And they would only be for shipping fish. So say I know I'm selling guppies, plecos, whatever it might be, I can put those fish in there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or maybe just the weekend. I ship on Monday and not feed the fish. So that way, say I want to sell a pair of guppies out of here, I just catch them out, move them in there. They can kind of sit over there in the week for the weekend, kind of go to the bathroom, not eat food, get ready, kind of fasting them for shipping. And then these tanks I won't have to do water changes on because I'm never really feeding the fish, and I'm not keeping fish in there for a long period of time. So it'd be really nice to have some holding tanks where I can just do prepping for shipping. So I think that'd be really cool. I've always wanted to do that. I've always had the space, but whenever I was kind of in the mentality of having 40 some tanks, you're always kind of moving fish and outgrowing your space. So I want to kind of work with what I have and maximize it, and not overcrowd or keep moving fish to more tanks and just kind of get that tank syndrome where you need more and more and more. So if you ever enjoy the tanks but have these 4 tanks, not extra water changes, just kind of have them sitting there ready for whenever it's time to ship fish. Then the 29 gallon tanks, kind of similar. I want to keep them pretty bare. it'd be these right here. And if I get the big air pump, I could do like 2 dual sponge filters, real big sponge filters, and I could do a pair of plecos in each. So I could breed some super reds in here and some long fin plecos down there, maybe future calicos or blue eye plecos. Kind of pick 2 of my favorite plecos, let them breed in there. After they breed, I could put the parents back into the main tank, which they can still breed in here, but that way I could get 1 good spawn of plecos, grow up all the babies, sell them all, then put a pair back in there, kind of repeat that process. Just be organized, and those tanks won't be too hard to maintenance. And then down here, the last 4 tanks would be 55s, top and bottom, side to side. What I want to do is maybe hang some more lighting above them, so it'd be kind of like this on the top tanks. And then the bottom tanks, I want to get some 4-foot LED strips. Or I had a sponsor reach out to me for testing some products, and they have some lights. I can show you their lights, see how I like them. But these bottom tanks would look so nice if I had lights right above them. And that way I don't have to worry about light trying to shine through all this stuff to get to the bottom tank. Which is why I initially did the bare bottoms, because that way you don't have to do your gravel vacs. If you put a light above all the tanks, it'll shine through a little bit to the bottom. But at this point I'm not really focused on that, so I've kind of made the top tanks pretty full, so the light doesn't really do much good for the bottom tanks. So if I could get lighting underneath these tanks, and I can even like zip tie it or fix it up to this top, or they have the little, you know, like the LED lights have the arm that comes out. I could pull it out, hook it there, and the light would come all the way across and then go there. They even sell some linkable like shop lights if I don't do like a fish product light. Those are really cool, and I can link them all up, so I could have 4 of those running on the 455s and not have to have 4 plugs, maybe just 1 or 2 plugs. So that would be really cool. And if I do that, I can finally gravel all these tanks and grow moss in them and minimize the amount of acrylic yarn I have. Because the plecos, it's not common, but sometimes the plecos get caught in that acrylic yarn. I have one albino pleco in here, not this one, but its one fin is like, has no, it's all jagged up because I had to pull it out of the acrylic yarn. It got caught in there for like a day or so. I found it kind of struggling and I got it out of there. It's still living. I probably could find it, but it would take me too long. But really nice fish. It's still, if I grow it up and breed it, it's going to do well. It has good genetics. But sometimes the plecos get caught in the acrylic yarn. So if I'm going to do more plecos in these 55-gallon tanks, and how many I have, which I'm doing now, it'd be nice to get rid of the acrylic yarn and just do the moss. And if I have lights on every tank, it's going to grow really well. So let me know what you guys think about that. It'd be on this whole wall, 55s, 29s, 10s, and then a saltwater 20-gallon in the corner. This wall would free up. I kind of thought about doing a big 300-gallon stock tank where I could just put baby plecos in there to grow out. But then again, I go back to having too many tanks, too much water in a certain space, and then getting overwhelmed. So I think I might hold off on that, but I would definitely have the space on this wall to do a big stock tank or build something. Let me know what you guys think about that. But basically what I'm debating on doing is moving all these tanks to this wall behind me. I'm kind of debating it because I can leave everything how it is. I can fill these 10 gallons up, fill that one tank, and I'm done. It doesn't take me much work. I think it would look a lot nicer on the other wall and be a lot easier to put some air lines above them on a big air pump. But let me know what you guys think about that. I also have a very cool idea on how to do a gravel vac water change. So that video will be coming out soon. Basically what I want to do, I don't want to spoil it, but if you guys have watched the video this far, I'll at least tell you. I'm going to test on a 155-gallon tank. I'm going to line the whole bottom of the tank with PVC, drill a bunch of holes in it basically, cover it with gravel, and find a way to hook a pump up to that PVC. So as the fish are in there, all the waste settles to the bottom into the gravel. If I hook a pump up to it, it's going to suck water out from the bottom of the tank in between all the gravel. So it's going to suck out all the fish waste. So I think it's going to be a really cool video. I think it's going to be a really cool test. So that's what I plan on doing with all the 55-gallon tanks. So I can put lights on them, I can plant them with moss, and I can put gravel on them. So I think that'd be really cool as well. But I know this video is getting really long. I know I got distracted. I forgot to say a few things. But overall, let me know your thoughts on what fish to keep, what guppies are your favorite. I've also thought about getting rid of some of my strains and kind of starting from scratch, where I can buy some new strains, work with some new colors and just from new breeders. So let me know what your favorite guppy strain is, that maybe I'll go ahead out and buy a new strain of guppies to breed. Keep working on my plecos and maybe moving the fish, and definitely looking forward to doing a cool saltwater tank in this 20 gallon over here once I move it, because I already have a lot of supplies. I was supposed to set a tank up for somebody and they kind of backed out on it. So I'm still going to use that supplies for other people, but I do have the sand, the live rock already ready to go. All it has to do is the filtration, the heater, which I'm pretty sure I have it laying around. But that's going to be a really cool tank I'm looking forward to doing in the future. That about wraps up the video, guys. I got a little bit distracted. I know it went a little bit longer than I wanted, and I probably forgot to mention some things, but overall, this is the fish room update today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please go below, comment on any of the questions I asked throughout the video. Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you liked it, and if you're not already subscribed, please follow us along and subscribe below. Thank you all, and stay tuned for the next video.